Well, hey there, friends, and a warm welcome into the very first episode of the brand spanking new Web Design MBA podcast. It feels surreal to say. Yes, that's right. Finally, after a few years of running the subscription web design brand, the rebrand is complete, at least as complete as it's going to be for right now. And we are now running as the Web Design MBA podcast. And there's many reasons why for this. Honestly, though, I really just want to dive right into the content. It's been so long since you guys have had any content from me. I want to get into that as soon as possible. If you want to go check out the new website, it's a very basic, simple website. It's at webdesignmba.com. Webdesignmba.com. I am going to be announcing very soon a new product offering, a new sort of way of interacting, and actually with the brand, and with the content and the community and the courses and such that we're offering. Very excited about this new program, and so I will be divulging all the details about that very, very soon, and you'll see some hints about it there on the website, but you'll have to wait until it launches fully before we're ready to go on that. But I'm excited to be here with the Web Design MBA. Hey, one little bit of like weird housekeeping for my YouTube audience. My YouTube audience, if you're actually watching this, you may know that I normally look at the camera. Here, I'm giving the camera a wave right now. I'm not looking at the camera. And why why is that? Well, there's actually a couple reasons. One reason is that I actually just don't like it. I like the audio podcast format rather than feeling like I'm recording a video. Like if I'm recording a video, that's a different thing than an audio podcast, and I'm just way more like relaxed and in my element. I feel like when I'm at least pretending this is an audio podcast. I want to have the content on YouTube, but I don't want to like just post the audio to YouTube. And what's interesting is I did this on another podcast of mine, and the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. I asked for people to give me negative feedback if they didn't like me not looking at the camera. And anyway, they actually said they liked it more. So I don't know if they just don't like looking into my eyes or what it is. But for whatever reason, they liked it better. So that worked out. And it's just better for me because I can, not only is it more comfortable, but I can look at my notes right here on the screen without feel like I'm having to, weirdly make eye contact. And then here's another one for you. And then in the marketing realm, here's a pro tip. There is actually data that shows that reels, like short form video that get posted, are like more likely to get higher engagement if you're not looking at the camera. If you have headphones on and it's like you're in a podcast format, I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't know if there's like something psychological about that makes it seem like more genuine or something. But yeah, it's kind of weird, but for whatever reason, that gets better and better views and engagements and such. And so I definitely want to start making some short form content here out of the podcast. And so that's another reason for it too. So anyway, feel free if you hate it to actually put that in the comments below. I mean, obviously it won't change anything for the audio listeners, and we'll go from there. All right. So let's dive into our topic for this week. And the first thing I want to talk about is what kind of content should web designers create? What kind of content should web designers create? Now, let me give you some background story to why we're covering this topic. My mentor, Josh Hall, and coach, I love that guy, joshhall.co. You should check out his YouTube videos. You should join his Web Designer Pro community. They're doing great stuff over there. Really love them. And Josh started to notice something with his students, and that is that they would start trying to create content online because, that's sort of the popular thing to do, right? You create content online. That's how you, that's how you succeed in marketing these days. And he noticed that what a lot of people were doing is they were creating content that was mostly for other web designers. It was not for business owners, not things that business owners would care about, right? It was very almost DIY, like skill-based stuff. Hey, here's how to, to make this particular change on a website, or here's how to design a website in Divi, or, here's how to configure this plugin. And so he started a couple years ago that I remember pointing this out and recommending against actually putting that kind of content on the internet, because you're potentially going to attract the wrong kind of people. I agree with him in a way, and I'll get to that in a minute. And I also have some disagreements with him too. One point of disagreement is actually because some of the content that I have posted, like this, that I actually did intend for other web designers, has brought me clients, because what happens in those scenarios is that you find people who think that they want to try to do it themselves, and then they do try to do it themselves, and then they realize that they don't want to do it themselves because it's too complicated, and since you're the one who taught them how to do it, they go ahead and call you because it creates that trust with them. So I actually don't think that it's unwise to post content that is skill-based, or that actually just shows that you know what you're doing. That's authority content. Even though it may attract some DIYers, that's okay, because it gets eyeballs on it, and a certain percentage of those eyeballs are going to be the kind of person who wants to reach out and have your help with something rather than to do it, themselves. The other issue with not going that route, right? With not creating that sort of authority-based content that runs the risk of other web designers coming in, is that the alternative to that, if you are a generalist, is to what? To create basically generic business, web and marketing advice content. And quite frankly, that's the most competitive space on the entire internet. I mean, to break out in that space through either, traditional advertising or organic content is extremely difficult. And I think it requires a very nuanced approach, a very specific approach that probably requires you to first niche down on certain things and then broaden out from there. So the conundrum for the web designer is that if you post some content, it runs the risk of bringing in the wrong people, the DIY crowd. But the alternative sort of content to that, or at least the perceived alternative to that, is this basically generic business advice and marketing advice, and that's a very competitive space and is very, very, very unlikely to break through. So what are your options then, given that's the reality? Well, one option is certainly to be niched down. And we've talked about that on past episodes of the Subscription Web Design Podcast, and that archive is all, it's all there. So you can absolutely see all of that. And I've talked about niching many times, and I totally believe in niching down. And when you are niched down, it allows you to create very specific content that you can share with a very specific kind of person. And there's probably influencers in that space already, but the likelihood that there would be influencers that could specifically share the kind of knowledge that you have as a web designer and marketer in that world may be able to break through easier. And there's other ways you can do it too. For example, a friend of mine, Ezra, he works with landscapers, right? And so he goes on and visits. He not only visits as a guest on podcasts that are for his audience, for landscapers, but he also advertises on those podcasts, and that's, as far as I'm aware, that's like his primary source, basically, of marketing is podcasting, and but as a guest on other people's shows in his niche, and then running ads on those podcasts as well. So if you have a niche, then what you should be doing is creating niche authority content in those spaces. But what can you do if you're a generalist, because I know that not all of you guys are niching down, right? Some of you guys are generalists. Some of you guys, you're niched in your local area, but you still have to be able to talk to sort of generic businesses as it relates to any kind of content that you could create. And what I've come away with is basically 3 types of content, generally speaking, right? These are broad categories of things. And then within those, there's lots of flexibility and variation. Okay. But I think there's basically 3 kinds of content that you can use to demonstrate your authority, to actually entice people to want to work with you, even as a generalist web designer, that in the right places and circumstances can break through to your audience. Okay. And the 3 of these are case studies, frequently asked questions, and then continued success pieces. All right. So we're going to spend the remainder of our time breaking those 3 different content pieces down and how you can use them. And I'll give you even just a little bit of window into what we're doing with this, because we're doing this too. So case studies. Okay. Case studies are fantastic. It's like a portfolio, but on the next level. Because case studies, what they do is allow you an opportunity to take a deeper look at a specific piece of work that you did for a client and explain the transformation. Okay. And of course, the best case studies, you probably know this, but the best case studies are the ones where you can involve numbers. But even if you can't involve numbers, because design is a very visual thing, a lot of times it can be useful just to give a case study on the before and after of what the website looked like. So whenever someone wants to do business with you, okay, they're never looking to buy a service or to buy a product. They're only ever buying one thing: transformation. Now, that's a little bit oversimplistic. Sometimes they're buying security, for example, or sometimes they're buying status, okay? But 99% of the time, when someone is going to do business with you, what they're actually trying to buy is transformation. And so anything that you can do to show the transformation is a win. So with a portfolio, for example, many times you're just posting basically the after pictures, because maybe you're building a brand new website for somebody and they don't even have any before pictures, right? So you just have that. Well, even in that case, with a case study, that's more powerful than what you can do with a portfolio, because you can explain the situation the business was in, why they contacted you about needing a website. Potentially, you could go into some of the other options they were looking at and ultimately why they decided on you guys, and then you can show the after. So your case studies give you a really good opportunity to show that before and after. And by all means, if it was a website redesign, then please show the before, what the website looked like before, and then what the website looked like after, so that people can actually see that transformation that has taken place. Because what's going to happen is somebody is going to come to your website and they're going to see that transformation and they're going to say, I want that transformation, right? They're actually going to be able to see for the first time what they want to buy, right? They don't want to just buy the pretty website. They want to buy the transformation. Okay. And again, that's also useful, especially if you're doing marketing. That's where it's also useful to put numbers in as well, right? Because people can sort of see where you took a company from. And that, again, shows that transformation, right? Where were they before? Where are they now? And the variable in the middle was, of course, you and your business. And so that's where it's very, very helpful. Okay. So case studies. Case studies can go on your website. They can be reposted onto social media. They can be used in short form videos in TikTok. They can become nice like carousel posts on Instagram. There's lots you can do with case studies. You could pull out quotes. You could pull out testimonials from the client, which I highly encourage you to include in the case study. I actually would encourage you to also interview the client when the project is over, and ask them certain questions to get their responses to them and weave those responses into the case studies. That's absolutely something that we've done before. So do that. That's the kind of content that you want to put out, is case studies. That's the first one. Okay. The second one is frequently asked questions. Frequently asked questions. There's a book, fantastic book by Marcus Sheridan, and it is called They Ask, You Answer. Now, Marcus's story, he started a company, or he was a partner in a company called River Pools and Spas. I believe they were in, it might have been New Jersey, but I can't remember exactly. And anyway, the company, this was like 2008, 2009, this time period is when basically their company was going under. And they had to do something fast. Now, back then, you could still get traction fairly quickly with a blog. And Marcus and his team basically became content writing machines. And they started putting out content every single day. And what they did, rather than like pull these nebulous ideas out of the sky, is they decided to simply pool all of the questions among their salespeople that they would get and put the answers to those questions on their website. And lo and behold, people started finding the answers to their questions on their website, and they ended up buying from this company. Now, as you can imagine, this has evolved much over the years, but believe it or not, still today, River Pools and Spas, most of their traffic comes from their blog. They've also added videos to it as well. But Marcus tells the story that this tactic literally saved his business. And so if you're wondering, what content do you create? What do you put on social media? What blogs do you write? What YouTube videos do you record? Really? The best thing is just to answer the questions that you get asked in your sales conversations with clients. Okay. There are questions that you get over and over and over and over again that you can answer with content on your website rather than even having to answer them in the sales call. In fact, Marcus recommends using content in your sales process, right? For example, you have a first interaction with a client, that call goes well, and you're going to work on a proposal or something. Okay. Well, why not follow up it with an email? Hey, so-and-so, like, I really enjoyed our call earlier. That was awesome. Just so you know, here's 3 articles that we've written that will help you understand a little bit about the process of getting started to work with us while we're working on the proposal. If you'll read those and be ready for it during our proposal meeting, that would be awesome. That's your homework. So you can literally give them homework and prime them and prep them to buy. The stats are crazy. I think the last stat that I read on this was that 70% of people have a decision made in their mind about whether or not they're going to do business with a company before they ever even talk to a salesperson. So what you need to ask yourself is, do I even have enough content on my website or on my social media platforms for customers to be able to make a 70% of the time to be able to make an informed decision about whether or not they're going to do business with me before I ever even talk to them? Okay, customers are researchers now. Okay. They're not ignorant. They don't have to wait to get on a sales call. They want to know the information that's out there, and they want your take on it. Okay. If they're going to work with your business, they want your take on it. So that's going to be very, very important for you as a web designer to get your own take on the commonly asked questions out there. So what you're going to want to do is start with the questions that people have asked you. Then you can move to the questions that people should ask you, okay? And then from there, you can blossom out into other things. But if you just do those 2 things and then the variation on those 2 questions, man, like, you're going to have a bunch of content. I mean, you should have a few years worth of weekly content ready to go, just with frequently asked questions and then questions that people should be asking. And then once you get into like comparisons between maybe you and other companies, like, WordPress versus Wix or WordPress versus Squarespace, you can do things like that. Again, even though this is generic content, you'd be surprised what can rise to the top, and it's going to have your voice, your take, and what can I say? I mean, yeah, they can go read the content on another person's website too, but the people who are going to want to work with you, they're going to want to read it on your website, and you're going to lose that business if it's not there. So case studies is what I would start with because it immediately shows the transformation. Then I would move to frequently asked questions, okay? Because those frequently asked questions are going to tap into what the reader is already thinking and what they're already asking about, and they're going to want your take on it. And then the third one, and I love this, the third one is what I call continued success pieces. Continued success pieces. So this is the kind of content that you want to put out there for what happens after you have a website, right? Or after people do business with you and after people work with you. Now, this is not only good to create, it's good content and fodder to like put into your email newsletter for your clients as well, to make sure that you are keeping that relationship built up with current clients. But it also shows that you demonstrate expertise at the business level, not just on building a website. Okay. So, here's an example that kind of blends the DIY thing with it too. Okay, I could imagine a continued success piece that talks about the how beneficial it would be to use a pop-up during holiday seasons to capture certain kinds of information or to relay certain kinds of information to potential clients. I can see where that would be useful. Okay. And so that's going to be something that your clients, a potential client, may want to know, or that your current clients would find useful. And either of those two could end up contacting you to say, hey, yeah, I would like to get that done on my website. Can you quote that for me? Even better than that, you can attach to that piece a special package or a special offer. It says, hey, this offer is available for a limited time. Be sure to mention this to me and give it a name. Give it some sort of awesome bundle, scary good pop-up bundle, right? There's your Halloween bundle or something like that. And make sure that you're communicating when you do things like that, not just the tech. You want to communicate the business result that they'll get as a result of implementing the tech. And I'll leave it up to your discretion on how in-depth you want to go. Is that blog post a tutorial, or is it simply just a basically like what's possible? Hey, if you actually do this, you actually implement this on your website. This is what you can hope and expect to see. Like I say, you can go into the DIY of if you want to teach them to do it yourself, if you want to, or you can ask them that, you can call them to action basically to say whether or not they want to actually do business with you and have you to fix it up for them. So in my opinion, those are the three types of content that if you're a generalist web designer, basically, you should be creating: case studies, frequently asked questions, and continued success pieces. These are the kind of things that clients are going to want to see. They are mostly like kind of mid to bottom funnel pieces of content. They're content that helps people make a decision. Now, you may have to go a little bit wider to be more top of funnel. But you should start here. In my opinion, you should start at the bottom and make your way up, because then you're going to, typically web designers tend to have more relationship driven stuff, especially in the very beginning. You're not working with Joe Blow off the street very often. When you do something like web design, unless your videos are like all, it's YouTube videos, or like you've just got tremendous Google search traffic. And so I think starting closer to the bottom of the funnel makes more sense. And then you go wider and wider. You do variations of your frequently asked questions, variations on your continued success pieces. And I think you'll start to see a lot of success with that. So that's it for this episode. That's the kind of content I think web designers should be creating. That's what we're doing. Again, you can go to our website, skyviewmarketing.com. You can use, .co. You can also go to promembershipsites.com. You can see some of what we're doing there. We are starting to do some social media stuff on Facebook with Skyview Marketing. I encourage you to go check that out, even though we're still very much in the early phases of building that up. And if you go to both websites, you'll see lots of continued success pieces, right? Just lots of pieces that are out there to help people make a decision, and we find that they work. All right. So I hope that's helpful for you. Please rate, go review this podcast on your favorite podcast player. If you're listening on audio, comment below if you're on YouTube. Those things really help the podcast to be seen and heard by more people, and just super excited about what the future is going to bring. All right. Thanks for joining me on the Web Design MBA podcast, and we'll see you next time.